I want people to set a goal to try to win at something, whatever the case is, whether it's an event or whether it's your hunt. It's important to be able to look and strive to be successful. Alpha bow hunting is wanting to be at the pinnacle of your game. The tournament aspect of putting people in a high pressure situation, you could be the worst shooter out there, but the more times you do that, the better you're going to be able to handle your nerves in the moment of truth. I want to show you where your current capabilities are at and show you how to get better. You can get a bow anywhere. And then right away, it's the hunt, right? That's the end goal. I want to go kill something. What happens to everything in between? If you're not well-versed in practice and have extreme confidence in what you're doing, then that one moment, you may not be able to take advantage of it. Those experiences you experience in the woods, those are priceless.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Wildness Attitude podcast. I got a very special guest today, Phil Mendoza. He is the owner of No Limits Archery and the creator of the Alpha Bowhunting Challenge, as well as the creator of the Alpha Bowhunting Way. And we're having him on today because we want to talk to him more about his background a little bit and how he got into hunting, and also how Alpha Bowhunting Challenge was created. But most importantly, we want to get into the new series that he's going to be doing. He has an online series for bow hunting, basically some teaching tools for you, if you will, to help you become a better bow hunter, have a better structure in what you're doing, and hopefully lead to more success. And so hopefully that is what you will learn to grow from his series once you sign up and get going. So, Phil, caught you in a drink.
Hey, man.
Thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me.
How's the day?
It's like a fire hose every day, man. I drink from a fire hose every day, so it's good. It's good.
Drinking from the fire hose, huh?
Yes,
yeah, life has a tendency to just turn it on full tilt, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And,
yeah. It's good, though.
Me and you are a lot alike. If we didn't have 100 irons in the fire, then we just have one in the fire, and it would be, we're in trouble.
Right.
Because we're up to no good, so.
No, I hear you, man. Ever since I was a kid and I grew up too, my dad was the same way. I watched him, not so much with a bunch of irons in the fire. He had a bunch, but he just never stopped, right? I mean, it was from one thing to another. Sundays, didn't matter what day it was. He was just always active, and I just grew up learning from that, watching him, and I think it just trickled on.
Right on. Yeah, so let's get right into Grandpa and Dad and uncles and all the mentors you had as a young man who brought you into your first hunting camp.
Yeah.
And some of that stories that go along with that.
When I was as young as I can remember, or as long as I can remember, when my dad and my uncles would go out hunting, they were rifle hunters. I grew up a rifle hunter, and I would anxiously help them pack the truck and get ready to go, and then we'd be gone for a week. And man, I just tell you what, I'd be looking out the window, waiting for them to come back home. And when they did, they back in the day, my dad and my uncles would pull out full cow elk, full deer. They'd pack them out whole. They'd drag them whole. They'd drag them back to camp. And it was the sight, man. They would hang up a full animal in the garage, and they would start working the meat and taking everything. I mean, stripping the bones. So to get to be a kid and hang out and watch that and hear them talk about the stories and the what ifs and we should have done this, or if that would have happened. And man, I was hooked from then. And it was when I first got to get out. I think the first time I got out, I was either 10 or 11, and I just got to go with Pops and my uncles. And I tell you what, man, froze my butt off, hiked my butt off, and it was cool. And I loved every minute of it. So when I finally got to start drawing a tag myself, it was just, I wanted to be an equal contributor to the hunting camp, man. I wanted them to know that it was, if they needed help dragging something out, I'd be there to help them out. If they needed somebody on point to spot for something or whatever the case is, I just wanted to be a part of the team, And
right.
I tell you what, man, it's something that I'm watching my two young boys start to see how they dabble and interact with wanting to come with Dad, and it's pretty neat to see it all full circle.
That is, I have to admit, that's been an awesome part for me here in the last couple of years, is watching the kids come full circle, in following me and doing some of what I'm doing. We never had grandpa around to do some of that. So I'm kind of the beginning of that, but it's a cool feeling, man, watching your kids take their first animal, get it home, setting them up for success and taking the hide off, and then help me quarter it down to get it in the meat locker. And then, and then them going out there in the meat locker with me, and we put on some tunes and we giggle and laugh and cut meat and wrap it. And, it's cool. It's super neat.
No, 100%. That's where my kids are too. Even at dinner time now, Dad, what are we eating? We eating whitetail, we eating mule deer, Dad, we eating elk, and to be able to just see the interaction with them all around, from being in the field to just being at home at the dinner table. It's pretty rewarding for sure.
It's also cool. We always write whose it is on the packaging, right? So that when we sit down at the table, we can be like, this is Aiden's elk or this is Brienne's deer. And it gives everybody a chance to reflect on that around that time and that moment, especially for whoever shot it, right? They get to be like, yeah, man, this is my elk, man, and they really enjoy it, right? So it's fun. It's a good time, but with that being said, I mean, here you are. I mean, you've got another company, another business that you run, but now you're at the point where opening No Limits Archery really was another extension of that passion that you grew up around in the garage in your family, right?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely took, I jumped into bow hunting, with both feet and I wouldn't say I was all in. And when I was in my teenage years, obviously, I shot archery in gym class. It started there, right? And then a buddy had a bow. We'd be in the backyard shooting. My buddy's bow was an inch too long or too short for me, and there was three of us shooting his compound bow in the backyard. So when I finally got out of college, got into hunting more, then I just jumped in. And I tell you, it was that story of, and many people, I talked to a lot of people, and it happens the same way with a lot of people. They just they want to absorb everything they can. It's every hunting show they can, whether it's a video tutorial, whatever the case is. And this was back in the early 2000s. So there wasn't the podcasts like now. There wasn't the YouTube, series like there is now. So it was something that, man, I tell you what, I spent a ton of time at the local pro shop, and I was even going to different pro shops, just wanting to hang out with different people and listen, So yeah, I just, when I got a chance in 2009 to open the doors for ourselves, man, we did it, and it was a struggle for a little while. I'm not gonna lie, it's the archery industry is tough from a sales standpoint, and we just kept at it, kept at it, and here we are, man, almost 9 years later, and I'm grateful that I don't call myself a quitter for anything, and that was one category that I really had to persist through, because what you see the store, if anybody comes in at No Limits Archery today, it was nothing like that 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Man, I'll tell you what, when I rolled in there a couple years ago for my first time, I mean, it was amazing, right? I was just like, maybe you didn't have quite the gear or quite the accessories and some of that stuff that my pro shop has here at that point, maybe as far as looking across the walls and some of the stuff that you had, but the size of your place, man, and the amount of shooting lanes you have and all that kind of stuff is freaking awesome. I mean, our local archery shop is 5 lanes wide if you're almost kissing, right? It's about 4 wide, and you can barely load an arrow on your bow unless you're doing it right out in front of you. So when I first walked in there, I was just like, "Whoa, this is awesome, man!" And then of course, when I drove up, then I kind of put 2 and 2 together on the Alpha Bowhunting stuff that I'd begun to see, right, and some of your outdoor stuff. Like you were doing like a fitness training thing or something a couple years ago there, right?
Well, we used to do boot camps, little workouts and stuff, and and we would integrate some of the. I would do a little bit of a coaching session, then I'd have somebody do a little bit of the physical section, and we'd put it together and get a workout done, and And we did that for a while.
Yeah. I remember the chain link fence and the concrete, and you running out there and having all that sand out there for, the dirt out there with all your targets. And I thought, how neat is that? Not only does he have such a huge range in the indoor, but he's also got this amazing range outside. It was like, this place is awesome. I mean, it's, I've talked with the owner here of Goods for the Woods and talked to him about, opening something like what you have, because I think that the area really wants it. I think that, I just think it goes back to the old scenario that if you build it, they'll come. Maybe not as fast as you think, but they'll come, right?
Sure.
So I thought, I'm really glad for your success in that situation. And I think it's just led you to be more successful in what you're embarking on now. And we ran into each other at ATA and talked a little bit about, this new series that you wanted to come up, and wanted to know what I thought. And it's a great idea. There's so many people that can't get to a local shop. There's so many people that don't have that outlet, right? And I think that on your internet stuff, especially, I mean, you do workshops in-house and some things like that I've seen before, but I thought, what a great concept. So my question is where were you when you thought of this? What spurred this idea to create it?
It's been one of those things that I've always found myself in a situation that I don't feel like I need to know everything to be able to teach somebody what I do know, right? And I don't claim to know everything, and I don't claim to ever know. But it's one of those things that even at our old shop, before we moved into the new facility, we were doing little workshops, seminars, and I'd put the PowerPoint presentation together, and I'd hit the slides, and a lot of them early on were just on 3D archery, right? I mean, I was so in deep with the 3D world that I was like, man, I mean, I was learning all these things, and I was competing, and I was doing well, and it's like, I need to show people what this is all about, And so we did a couple of those, and then it was just really almost like throwing darts at the dartboard, right? You throw some here, you throw stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. Some stuff did really good, and then because archery and bow hunting is very seasonal within the sales aspect of things, it would get to where we do a couple of good seminars, and then it would kind of fall off because we were busy doing other things. And it just got to the point where I've hired more people at the shop to really help me maintain the day-to-day, and I've got some great staff. I mean, they're just really good. So from that, it allowed me to take a step back and say, okay, what else can we do better at? And then it was one of those things like, I don't need to rediscover anything. We've been doing good with these workshops and seminars. We just need to do more of them. So it's just grown to where more recently with the all-day workshops that we've advertised, I'm doing 20-person workshop classes is what we're kind of limiting it to. Sold out the first one in 7 days. The second one, I think we've got 6 or 7 people registered, and I've got this whole other kind of idea to implement something additional, because again, I can really take somebody in our shop, work with them, teach them what we want to teach them, and then I can see if it's applying, right? Get them on the range, shoot some, let's XYZ, how is this working? So I'm comfortable there. I'm 100% comfortable there. The problem with doing stuff online is you really know if people are getting the connection, right? You give them the information, but you really know if they're getting the connection, or if they're really connecting the dots, I should say. So I think what the progression to what we're going to be doing is, I mean, obviously we're doing the all-day workshops. I've got the online courses I've got the 2 building block courses up online now, the 3.0 course, which is essentially going to be a lot of what these workshops are going to be about. We're going to start to trickle those out here within the next week or so, week and a half. And then I'm going to actually start doing like a smaller group, smaller group workshops, to where if it's regionally, people that obviously can't travel in, but they want to participate, and we'll do it over a series of like 3 or 4 weeks, right? Once a week or twice a week, half an hour, 45 minutes, and we're going to give you bits and pieces of information, but it'll still be in this setting where I can talk to you maybe on Skype or see what's going on. I can get a visual. We can work through things, and not so much a one-on-one deal, but maybe a smaller group setting with some of the workshops. So still be able to deliver the message that I feel is just so needed to get out there from one, and we're just excited about it,
Yeah, sharing your passion, whether you know everything or not, is an awesome thing to do, because there's people at all different levels that you're gonna attract, right? And so, you know, and for me, I like learning from someone who doesn't have the presence that they think they know it all either, right? I mean,
Sure.
having that humble approach, that teaching approach, and but yet a teachable approach too, because I mean, I've sat down with people that are novice archery hunters or shooters, and I don't know nearly what you know, but I'm able to teach them something. But what's funny is, in me teaching them, I learn things too.
Right.
You know, I learn different stuff. And so I think that that's an awesome point of view to have. And um, so, I mean, this extension of these day workshops is an extension of your alpha bow hunting, right? I mean, I think that when you created the Alpha Bowhunting Challenge, which, you know, it's an archery competition with a fitness twist, right? Um, I'm sure through those competitions, you began to see the need, right, for what you're creating in these workshops.
100%. And yes, so I started doing some things 3+ years ago under the championship bow hunting name, right? And I'm thinking I want people to see that they to set a goal to try to win at something, whatever the case is, whether it's an event or whether it's your hunt, whatever the case is, it's important to be able to look and strive to be successful, right? I think that
Mhm.
if you're not, then yes, then it falls back into that true just hobby. But I think so many of us take bow hunting and archery as a passion, and they want to take it further. So why try to pull the wool over somebody's eyes and say, yeah, I want to be serious, but just not that serious. It's bullcrap. People want to do the best they can, right? Some
That's
people
right.
just they haven't been shown the process or the path to get there. So when I'm thinking about this and I'm throwing some content out there, and we've got a YouTube channel, we've got some stuff going on, and I'm meeting people at train to hunt events, and starting to coach some people privately. And I said, you know what? I'd heard it many times before, and people have articulated it to where it's like they want to be that top 10%er, right? That's people strive in, and when you see what that top 10% means in hunting, in the hunting world, specifically bow hunting, if you're in that top 10%, usually you're filling tags is what it comes down to. If you're not, then you're not filling tags and you're wanting to be there. So as I started
Right.
kind of evolving things, I was like, you know what? Alpha bow hunting is kind of more of a fitting name within regards to wanting to be at the pinnacle of your game. And
Right.
within that, I just said, yes, the coaching, the tournament aspect of putting people in a high pressure situation. The more you do that, the better you're going to get. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
You could be the worst shooter out there, but the more times you do that, the better you're going to be able to handle your nerves in the moment of truth. So, but it was one of those things that the event, and then I just wanted to have a fun. It needs to be kicked back. It needs to be fun. You can be serious for 2.5, 3 minutes when you're running the course. Come back off, listen
Right.
to some music, kick back with your buddies, cheer on your friends, and have a spectator friendly event. So that's what the goal of the event was. But it's definitely
Mhm.
all part of the total package with what we're looking to do is, hey, I don't want to say help you identify your limitations because I don't like that. I want to show you where your current capabilities are at and show you how to get better.
Right.
And
Right.
that's where, as we're doing these events, I tell you that there's things when I'm watching, like you said, you try and teach somebody and you watch and you learn something back. I'm watching things go on, and the questions that I'm getting and the interaction I hear within the people, I said, yeah, that's what we need to touch on. That's what we need to help with. That's where we can step
Right.
in and make a
Right.
bigger impact.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if you see two people doing it, then you know that there's 20 people, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and that's the thing is even when you look at Olympic archers and people that are, quote unquote, the best, I mean, they're constantly learning and refining everything they're doing. So, I mean, from my point of view, these seminars that you're doing and the online courses, they're for everybody. If
correct.
you pick up a bow and you shoot or target, paper, 3D, hunt, doesn't matter where you're at, and it will help improve what you're doing.
And it's something that, you bring up the Olympic level shooters. Well, we have one of the lady Olympic shooters that she's been on. I think she's been to 3 Olympics. I remember right, Katuna Lorig. She did a workshop at the shop. She ended up moving to Denver, and she would come in and shoot at our shop regularly when she's in town. She does a lot of coaching, a lot of traveling as well. But when she's sitting there, she'll be there all day. Okay, she's shooting not 20 arrows or 40 arrows or 60 arrows a day. She's shooting 250, 300 arrows a day, sometimes more. And I know this because I've talked to her about it. And you start to see what's like, okay, well, that's at the highest level in that category. And you see, and I know that when I was competing nationally and to get to wherever I was able to progress to, I wasn't able to be in the top 10 of the pro class, but I earned my way in there and competed with those guys.
Right.
And it was one of those things that's like, yeah, I had to shoot every day, sometimes twice a day, practice judging yardage. It was something that you had to keep banging your head against the wall. It wasn't anything that comes easy. You know what I mean? It was something that it's hard and it takes a lot of time. And that's where with today's day and age, right? Everybody wants it now. Everybody wants to get on Amazon and see something here tomorrow or the next day. And so much of what's going on, you're getting the. And I did a seminar at ISC a month ago, and I said, look, you can get a bow anywhere, right? You can get one from a buddy, you can go to a box store, you can go to a pro shop, you can get your bow. And then right away, it's the hunt, right? That's the end goal. I want to go kill something. Well, what happens to everything in between? Right? What happened to the practice, the structure, the understanding yourself, your setup, your gear, understanding what accuracy is, different shot positions, understanding effective range, understanding how your energy, understanding all those things. It's just, and don't get me wrong. I mean, podcasts are great for spot information, but you take a 30 minute to 1 hour spot show that somebody could put out, and you can find great information there, but it's spot information. So to take that spot information and back up 2 or 3 steps and say, okay, look, let me fill in these building blocks of what my structure should be. And then let me take this spot information and see how I can implement it to my specific setup and actually see results now. That's what I really want people to understand is this is for anybody, right? This is I've killed a ton of animals, big game animals with my bow, and I've failed a lot. And I've sat there, within the last 5 years, I've sat behind the string of my bow, ready to cut the string on my bow because I was that frustrated. You know what I mean? It was I've been there. So to understand that the process of getting from point A to point B, understanding the structure, understanding where people get disconnected within the moment of truth or right before the moment of truth, or just failing in the preparation. Like I said, I want to coach from where I've been through and the customers that I've talked to, because I've talked to a ton of customers that come through our shop, and I learn a little bit from every customer. And now I've got this package, this structure that's been outlined and revised and remolded, and to the point where it's like I can sit here and I can go through and I can remember the last 10 or 15 hunts I've been on. And I can plug myself in that situation into this coaching pyramid structure that I'm telling you about, and I can say, yeah, I screwed up here because of this. I can directly tell myself now why I screwed up. Okay, and if
you mean it's not just the bow's fault?
Hey man, I tell you what, that's I struggle because I'm on both sides of this, right? I sell the equipment to people, and I also want people to understand the real effect. And I'm my own worst salesman sometimes in the shop, because I'll be in there and they'll be like, yeah, I like this. I've been looking at this. I've been reading on it. And I look at what they have and I say, you realize that really isn't that much difference than that. It's probably not going to do you any good, Right. And they say, well, this is what I'm seeing. Okay, well, that's not a stabilizer issue. That's a form and shot execution issue, But that's stuff people don't want to hear about.
Yeah, people give you that look, right? They give you that look.
They give me that look because they're prepared to give me $150 or $250, and in some cases I'm like, I think you just need to take a step back and try this, and then figure it out.
Yeah, go get your bow. Yeah, go get your bow and come back in here and give me 5 minutes of your time.
Right. That's exactly right. I mean, some of the base level workshop that I put on our online course is I just call it Building Blocks 1.0, right? Bow hunting Building Blocks 1.0. And it's very elementary to the standpoint of it's maybe more so for new shooters. Just goes over understanding what the accessories are, talking you through a little bit of the accessories. But then it gets into the single most critical part of any archer's foundation. It's a shot routine, shot sequence. You know what I mean? And if you don't understand what step should happen before the other step should happen before the other step, and understand the process in getting from point A to the end result of you shooting your arrow, then you will not know if something goes wrong how to fix it, because you don't know the sequential order of how things should happen and where they need to be. And so it's $25, man. You paid more for that hat on your head. You know, that's what I try to tell people. It's like, look, you can take from the base foundational level of what is bow hunting and archery, and you can implement a little bit better structure and coaching. And I can take somebody with a $400, $500 bow, and they'll outperform their self if they can take themselves out of where their situation is now. I don't care if they got a $1,500 bow. You know what I mean? I can put them in a lesser value performing bow, but give them good structure, good technique, good execution, a good plan, a good playbook, and they're going to be more successful.
Shoot lights out.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, and that's why I'm excited about it for you. I mean, you know, within these topics you're going through, let's go through a few of them, right? So target panic, right? Number one, it's got to be the number one problem, is it not? And for archers at every level.
I think that target panic is always going to be it's always going to be there, whether somebody deals with it multiple times throughout their lifetime or they never get past it, right? They deal with it, and some people quit because of it, you know?
Right.
And the problem is honestly, bow hunting and archery, and anytime I think you get into any kind of shooting sports, it seems like ego is so much involved to where people they don't want anybody coming in and telling them they're doing something wrong. They don't want anybody telling them, you know, and I see it when a guy will come into the shop with his girlfriend or his wife, you know, and we'll set them up. And the girlfriend or the wife is just ears open, eyes open, and just listening and taking it all in. And you start walking them through the process. And then the boyfriend will be like, I didn't know that. Well, you know? And it's like, well, how come, you know, it's like, well, sometimes you just need to learn to ask a question, right? And that's where I think the disconnect becomes, is so many times people are afraid to ask, people are afraid to admit a failure, people are afraid to admit. I mean, I did a seminar when I wrote my short booklet, Targeting Buck Fever. I walked up into the first seminar, I was like, I've had it, I've dealt with it, I deal with it sometimes, not so much lately, but I've dealt with it throughout my archery career until I figured out how to overcome it. And it's one of those things. Yes, there's a process. For some people, you can fix it quicker than others. For some people, it's a spot fix, right? Some people will learn one thing to change and get around it, but before long, that sucker's going to come back and bite you in the backside. So and again, it goes back to understanding foundationally, going back to shot routine, how to get around it. The second thing is, in most cases, it's a release that causes that's inducing anxiety, whether it's a release with too much trigger travel, whether it's a release that that's you've not learned at what point in time you should be putting your finger on the trigger and how you should be executing a shot. So that's where tension releases and secondary to that, hinge releases, and just understanding shot execution, where your release should fire from. All those things are in that second coaching structure, that the Building Blocks 2.0. It's specifically on target panic, and kind of essentially that leads into buck fever, right? It's just a disconnect that people have.
And so the bulletproof shot sequence stuff, if I recall, is in the 1.0, right? I'm going to put that shot sequence, shot routine in every structure that we do. In each one, good. Because that's it, right? I mean, because that's it. I mean, without that foundation, it's all screwed up from there.
Correct. Right? And it's it's in the 1.0, it's in the 2.0, it will be in the 3.0. You know, I've got people coming in to do this all-day workshop, and we're going to touch on it at the workshop because, again, understanding foundationally where problems stem from, 9 out of 10 times it's because of it's a shot routine, shot sequence issue or disconnect that.
Right.
You know, you can be out on the range shooting with your buddies, and you're talking, and all of a sudden you're at full draw, and somebody says something funny, and you turn your head away, you laugh a little bit, you come back into your shot. Well, you've just held your bow for an extra XYZ seconds, right? And you're trying to connect the dots again from the midpoint And if you didn't even know what the proper sequence is, how are you going to do that? You should let your bow down and start over. And now, and I say this from a practice standpoint, because obviously in the woods, in the field, anything can happen, anything can go. So, but if you've created such good habits and such good structure through your practice routines, when that moment does appear in the woods, and you have to hold your bow for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you know exactly where to pick up your process and work back into the system, execute the shot, stay focused, stay connected.
That's super important. So I mean, you know, your shot sequence is what I always tell my kids is the most important part. You know, and then building your archery system is probably something that I value. Tell us a little bit more about that.
It really, what the 3.0 system is it's taking everything into account, taking your equipment, taking your accuracy based off how we're going to have you sight in. It's going to take your energy of your setup, and we're going to be putting together, essentially helping you determine your effective range. But from there, it's going to take your effective range, and then I'm going to break it into clusters. I've kind of refined this process to where once you know what your system is per species based off certain vital size that we've kind of used actual math. I mean, we're taking constant data, which is vital size. We're taking constant data, which is going to essentially be your accuracy. Also constant data, which is your energy that's producing, not just at point blank, but downrange. So then we're going to plug all that in, and then we're going to work you into these clusters, and we're going to show you, hey, in each of these clusters, this is the things you should be identifying. You should be identifying, number one, distance. Obviously, everybody when you say effective range, distance is the first thing that comes to your mind, okay? But they usually stop there. That's where it stops. You should be considering not only distance, you should be considering animal behavior and the elements that they're out in the woods, whether it's wind, whether it's shot angle, whether it's footing. And then second to that, you know, the system that we're going to be working with animal behavior starts with ears, eyes, and body position, right? There's three components. You should be able to quick, boom, look at what's going on in the animal and tell you, what cluster is that animal's behavior put you in within your shot accuracy, because it's not the same for everybody at every distance.
Yeah, you know,
so
that's awesome.
It seems complicated. That's why this all-day workshop, I'm really excited to be able to get hands-on with people and then do the practicals and the application, because the last portion, which is situational archery, unless you're going to sit there and go on a bunch of hunts, which I hope you do, right? I hope everybody gets to go hunting as much as they can. But realistically, most people get 1 to 3 hunts a year if you're talking about big game hunting with a bow. If you're lucky, you get to do a handful more. But that means you're limited to those maybe one shot scenario per species if you're lucky again. Sometimes you get a couple, right?
If you're lucky.
Yeah. So that situation that's going to come about, if you're not well versed in practice and have extreme confidence in what you're doing because you've prepared to get there, then that one moment you may not be able to take advantage of it. So being able to go over what we're calling situational archery and really improving your mental agility is kind of what the terms that we're coining with this, because if we can put you through shot scenarios and situational scenarios, and you have your system in place, your playbook, you should quickly be able to identify what's going on within a few seconds. Because if you take more than that, doubt starts to creep into your mind, negative thoughts start to creep into your mind, and you start to have that disconnect and that element of, you know, can I do this? And you should never have that. You should have that supreme confidence of, I'm going to do this. It's a matter of, am I going to do it when he's there, or am I going to do it when he's there? Or, you know, whatever the situation is. So this whole system and this coaching structure has been, it's a bunch of different information that I've learned over the years that we're just putting in one spot, and we're adding a couple elements that we've created to it.
Well, and I see this as an opportunity for anybody, like I said before, not only to improve their skills tremendously, but also to diminish that learning curve in the wild, right? Like you're saying, you might get 1 hunt, 2 hunts, 3 hunts. Who knows how many shot opportunities per hunt? You never know, right? But that's the thing where for so long, people would be like, well, you know, I'll give you a few pointers and off in the woods you go. right? And every now and then, if you're lucky, you get some great mentors, you get some good people that are willing to let you go shadow and let you learn and let you see and talk to you about it and a lot of things like that. But, like you say, there's so many newbies that run out there and they grab a bow. I've seen it a week before season opens here. I've seen a dude roll in and drop coin, roll out with a bow, and he sighted into 20 yards leaving, and he says, "Yeah, I'm going elk hunting on Saturday morning." I'm like, "Great. Who are you going with?" "Nobody. I'm going by myself." "Wow. Okay. You ever been hunting before?" "Yeah, I've hunted with a rifle for 8 years." And it's like, okay, well, wow, all right. Well, I wish you the best of luck,
Right.
because you're going to need it. But this is a great opportunity, what you've put together. I mean, you've put together years and years and miles of, being in the woods, hours, days, year. I mean, it's insane the amount of information you're compiling into this to give to people for, like you say, for less than, price of my hat.
Yeah,
Right?
and well, the initial coaching structures are just that. I mean, the initial stuff is the price of a hat. The workshop that we're running is $150. It's the all day
Okay.
workshop
Gotcha.
is up there, and it was one of those things as I start looking
But
at
that's
from a business standpoint. You say, hey man, $150 it's a dozen high end arrows, right? But if I can tell
right.
you, let me put you into the structure. Let me show you where you're at. Let me show you how to identify if this is actually going to be better than not. Let me show you how to leverage certain things within your system and then build your confidence. So that way, whether your effective range is 30 or 60, doesn't matter. Within that system, within your effective range, you're going to have your own system. So that way, when that shot opportunity, that an animal comes around, it's go time, and there's not going to be a disconnect because you will have versed and been well rehearsed, and it's time to go. So I mean, it's tricky whenever you it's something I'm really passionate about, right? But at the same time, it's business. I've to keep my doors open, to keep my employees paid, to keep everything going on like we're doing, and trying to deliver back. I mean, here's the deal to put in perspective. Last year at the Alpha Bowhunting Challenges, we gave away over $26,000 cash and prizes. Okay, that's me giving stuff away. That was
right.
As I was taking stuff in from sponsors and partners, I was giving it away. Entry fees, anybody can go back and look how many people came into the door to compete. I basically paid it all back. So this is one of those areas as I start looking at, okay, I'm going to always be that person to give back. I mean, I donate a bow to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation banquet, the CBA banquet, the Sheep Foundation. I'm always trying to give back from a standpoint of there's different organizations and groups trying to do well within for us as bow hunters. And if I can help, I'm going to help.
Right.
At the same time, with these events, I'm going to help. The coaching structure for me to go to somebody and say, look, I'm going to show you how this investment of $25 or $50 or $100 is going to pay you tenfold, 20-fold when you go into the woods for the rest of your life, because it's just that. And that's where this is one of those things that I felt from a standpoint of I feel comfortable looking somebody in the eye and say, I'm going to over deliver on what you're going to give me. And I guarantee it, and I promise you, you're going to walk away from this thinking that was cheap. That's how how I feel.
Absolutely. I mean, and you should feel that way, because you look at what $150 gets you anywhere in gear or a jacket or arrows or anything like that. It's amazing how people can justify one thing, but they can't the other. But for me, what you're talking about teaching people in an all-day workshop for $150 is dirt cheap, because you're going to spend $300, if not $450, just in arrows to learn what you're going to learn in one day here, right? And then it's simple math.
Well, and and the thing is I think that when you look at a couple things, I referred to earlier just like looking at different markets, and some people, just because archery is 2 to 4 years behind the times, right? Maybe 3 to 5 years behind other markets and trends. And you start looking at, I do audiobooks. I I have 100 plus audiobooks on my phone downloaded, and it's just I'm like I'm almost a book a week, right? It's just because as I have windshield time and I drive around, and I look at it, it's like, man, some of those audiobooks are $20 a pop, and you start looking at all I needed is one piece of information to learn that one nugget from each one of those little books to help implement me for whatever, right? Whether it's mental focus, whether it's business, whether it's self-improvement, whether it's I just need one little token of something from that book. And in this structure, because nobody's doing this kind of curriculum, for me to say, hey, I'm going to charge you $150. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to give you some content, some gear, some stuff to take home with you. Plus, you're going to have the seminar. Plus, when you go home, you're going to have all these videos that I'm referencing from this class anyway. So essentially, I'm giving you the online course, and I'm going to walk you through the online course in shop. So yeah, it's a value that if I start adding it up, it's stupid. But at the same time, from the standpoint of just wanting to fill a gap, right? As I look from the shop standpoint, I'm a hunter. I've been a competitive archer. I'm a salesman in the category. I've been involved with some product development with a few things behind the scenes that not a lot of people are aware of. And it's something that I'm very hands-on, right, with everything I can do. And that's after I have a 9-to-5 business. So hey man, this is something that I'm putting in more time than I'll ever be able to get back out for it. But at the same time, those experiences you experience in the woods, those are priceless. You can't ever quantify and put a price tag on an experience in the woods, especially the ones that went successfully for you. The way that you drew up a plan, they go according to plan, and everything's perfect, and you've got your buddies and your family, whoever there with you to share it. You can't buy that. You can't buy that. You
can't put a price on it. Nope.
No,
there is no price.
If there's something that we can show you how to get to repeat that situation more often, and that's value. That's what I'm excited about.
I'm excited about it too, man. I mean, I'm super stoked you gave me an invite to come up on the 24th, man, and I'm super happy about coming up there. Just come up and share more through podcasting, or just maybe just being there, learning, watching you. Because there has never been a point that I've ever been around you that you aren't dedicated and passionate and honest and forthright and transparent, and you're just you've got the makings of success written all over you, and it shows in everything you touch. And if that means you can touch me for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, all day, then I'm in, because that positivity and reinforcement alone will send me out the door with more confidence, just because it's just who you are.
No, so, I appreciate it, man. That's it. It's just that it's one of those things. The seminar we did last night, and I mentioned it in one of the feeds before. It's like I said that I think it's the dullest pencil remembers more than the sharpest mind, right? And it's something that once I started putting the dots together and writing things down and being able to see them on paper, and then build my confidence through just writing things down and telling myself. I had to convince myself first that I was positive, that all these things were achievable. And and one thing I've never told anybody, and I've never written it anywhere. I've never spoke it on any other podcast or anything. So when I was early on as a target shooter, shooting these local 3D shoots and some of the ones around the state, man, I tell you what, the thing that I struggled with the most was I knew I can do better, and I wasn't connecting the dots in that point. So I knew there was a disconnect. And even then, I was just talking myself through. I says, you know what? Don't be afraid to succeed. Don't be afraid to be great. I know I can do this. Just do it. And I would sit there between walking from one station to another, and it's I would just tell myself I would almost build my confidence back up between one target to another after I screwed up whatever I did the target before. And having confidence in yourself is, and I still believe it is, the number one most critical element you can take into the woods with you. Confidence.
Yeah. Once you screw up the mind, man, once you get shaking the scramble between your ears, it's over. I mean, I'm not for everybody, but it's hard to come back from,
Yeah, no,
It
that's
really
where
is. And
you see you make somebody shake their confidence shaky, and you got the upper hand, right? So it's the same thing. The
that's
only
right.
problem is it's not necessarily that somebody else is trying to break your confidence. It's so many variables that hunting throws at us. It's not
Right.
hard to lose your confidence.
No, it's not hard to be your own worst enemy.
Yeah,
We all know that.
yeah.
Right. And I'm sure behind all this too, I mean, you know, you were kind of working through the processes, writing it down, building your own confidence and things like that. But I know that behind you, Missy, your wife, is probably, right by your side, engaging, pushing this forward with you, right?
Oh yeah, she's my business partner with the archery shop side. She's my life partner, right, in all things, and it's one of those things that as I start kind of spitballing ideas and throwing things out there, she knows me very well, and she knows the right time to give me that little kick in the rear, because it's like,
Yeah.
and like I said, that little bit, not so much that the confidence is fluttering, but it's like I'm at a sticking point sometimes, and she just knows the right time to how to dial it up and just get me going again,
Right.
or push me in the right direction. So, yes, I mean she's been an awesome wife, and definitely my equal for sure. Yeah.
That's good to hear. So, man, your life is busy as can be, man. 9 to 5 in it, pushing this stuff out on the backside, trying to help people be better. I just commend you for what you're doing, and I just encourage everybody who's listening to this podcast to go to the Alpha Bowhunting seminars if you can get there in person. If not, Phil, where can people find your online 101, 202, and 303 as they're released?
So right now, if you go to alphabowhunting.com, click on the coaching tab, it'll show you the all-day workshop information. There's a link that'll click you over if you're here to get onto that. Below that, it has a link for the 1.0 and 2.0. The 3.0, like I said, the videos are almost done. It's editing the videos and getting them built into the course and that kind of thing is where I'm at. But at the same time, I'm going to be releasing those. I don't want to release it until it's good. It's done, right? I mean, I can trickle them
Absolutely.
out, but we're just polishing it up, is I guess where we're at right now. So alphabowhunting.com, coaching tab. I do want to offer a special promo, but what I'm going to do is, and if you're good for it, maybe if you're going to make it down for the March 24th event, there's a lot that I'm going to be launching and introducing at that weekend. Okay, so I will have some special offers and promos for the Wilderness Attitude listeners and followers that are interested. Obviously, anybody that wants to go out right now, I've got the 1.0, 2.0, the all-day workshops are available. The Targeting Buck Fever audiobook and paperback books are available. So just a little teaser, our second booklet is going to be done by that weekend. And
nice.
So the people that are attending the course are going to be some of the first ones to get their hands on that. It's going to be very much tied into the course. It's going to be 1 and 1A, if you will, to that curriculum. So I definitely, once we get the total package together and everything's structured, everything's out there, I'm going to definitely throw you guys a little bonus so you can show some support to you, Brandon. I mean, you guys grinding all the time with this. Yeah, I've done some podcast stuff a little bit, man. It's not easy, It's time consuming, and doing it right, like you're doing it, is. And I've told you that before. I said there's a lot of people that can do it, and the way that me and my buddy Will were doing it, we were doing it the thrifty, economical way, and it was just the way we wanted to do it. And I'm not saying that I see value and I see good quality content and quality production because I know what average and entry level is from doing it ourselves.
Right.
So
I got you.
I got to throw a compliment back to you because, like I said, I mean, watching your stuff and seeing how you work and you put stuff together, man, you're doing a good job. So for that, the invite to come down and give you guys a promo code. I mean, and you know what? Why don't we do this? Anybody that's listening, if they want, I'll send you guys just today as anytime, just if you listen to this episode, send me an email, phil@nolimitsarchery.com. Tell me you heard us on the Wilderness Attitude podcast, and I'll give you a free audiobook for the Targeting Buck Fever, the one we've got out right now. So I'll send the listeners a free audiobook of our. It's a second edition. It's got the additional chapters on it that we wrote. So it's just a freebie, just to say thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that. I'm sure my listeners are thankful as well. And to my listeners, the Wilderness Attitude podcast is a team. Me and my producer Kate Norris and my executive producer Michael Morrow. I mean, these guys are an awesome team to work with, and we all complement each other very well. And we're really happy to be doing what we're doing and doing it at a high quality level. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and like I said, it's good, man. You need to have a good team around you for anything, and it shows.
Right. Appreciate it. Well, all you listeners, you heard him. You say you go to Phil at Alpha Bowhunting.
No, Phil at No Limits. Phil at No Limits Archery.
Phil at No Limits. Thank you.
Yes.
Phil at nolimitsarchery.com, and throw him an email after you hear this, and he'll throw you one of his audio books. And I tell you, you can't go wrong there, man. Hey, no. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, once you come up, if you can make it up for that March 24th, there's
I'll be there.
Yeah, the whole kind of the platform, everything will have it'll really show itself much better then. And then, like I said, just to show you guys my appreciation too for having me on the show, we'll throw a promo code out there and show some love.
Well, we'll make it through that. We'll make it through that seminar together there. And then we'll have to sit down again and talk about it again, because then I'll have a lot more hands-on knowledge of the whole curriculum and all this stuff, and we can probably get a lot more deep into some of that, and have a really good conversation post of that. So we'll sit down and do that again, man. I appreciate you being on today. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Wilderness Attitude Podcast. We really want to throw a special shout out to Phil. We thank him so much for what he's offering with the free audiobook. So go send him an email as soon as you get done listening to this podcast. And also, if you haven't given us a review or thrown us 1 star, 5 stars, anything, tell us how we're doing, please, you can go straight on iTunes or whatever platform you're using, leave a review. We greatly appreciate those. And then also, you can catch me at wildernessattitude.com and drop me an email. I respond to everything, every question. They're good comments, bad comments, it doesn't matter. So let me know how we're doing, and we appreciate it. We'll catch you soon.